Humans are not a product of intelligent design. They are the product of genetic engineering, a slave race created by alien overlords eons ago. And now Captain Christian Jenkins had crashed on an uncharted planet, his ship crippled by a ruthless ambush, finding out this devastating truth that would shatter humanity's very identity. It started as a routine exploration mission. The Odyssey entered an uncharted star system, scanners probing the inky void. Suddenly, a Talarian warship appeared, weapons blazing. Jenkins tried to hail them, but no response came, only a relentless barrage that tore through the Odyssey's hull. Consoles exploded, bulkheads buckled, crew members died in agony as the ship fell apart. With no other choice, Jenkins punched in a desperate blind hyperspace jump. The dying ship lurched into the swirling vortex, ripping free of the attacking aliens. It emerged above a harsh, rocky world and plummeted through the thin atmosphere, trailing smoke and debris. The Odyssey slammed into the surface, crushing its lower decks. Metal shrieked and geysers of sand billowed into the air. Jenkins dragged himself from the wreckage. A handful of battered survivors joined him, coughing in the acrid smoke. The captain rallied them to action, directing repairs and ordering scouts to search for food and water on this barren world. If they couldn't get the ship space-worthy again, they'd be stranded here, and Jenkins knew the Talarians would come looking to finish the job. While exploring some desolate canyons, Jenkins made a startling find: ancient alien ruins. Worn carvings covered the stone walls, depicting a primitive religion. The long-dead aliens called their deity the Great Maker, an omnipotent being that created the universe and all life within it. A comforting myth, Jenkins mused. Not like the chaotic reality of Darwinian evolution that had spawned humankind. That night, a crew member burst into the shelter, eyes wide. She had intercepted a stray Talarian signal and decoded a message that shattered everything Jenkins thought he knew. Humanity was a product of alien genetic engineering. Eons ago, the Talarians created and seeded them across the cosmos to be a slave army, living weapons to conquer in their name. Not a natural species at all, an artificial race, toys of alien overlords. The revelation sent Jenkins reeling. It couldn't be true. Yet it made a sickening kind of sense. The way human DNA was perfectly adapted to thrive in so many environments. Their penchant for warfare and conquest. Had it all been programmed by their creators? The Talarians must have lost control of their creations, but now they wanted to wipe humanity out, erase their mistake. Jenkins clenched his jaw, a cold anger settling in his gut. He would find a way off this rock and bring this terrible truth to light. The knowledge might break humanity, might rip the foundations out from under every belief they held, but it could also free them. He would complete this mission no matter what. Uncover the full account of their origins and throw off the shackles of the Talarians once and for all. Humanity would learn they were a product, not a child of evolution, and then they would decide their own fate. Jenkins gathered the surviving crew in the battered remains of the Odyssey's mess hall. 16 haggard faces stared back at him, flickering in the light of sparking wires. He took a deep breath. I know you're all shaken by what happened. The Talarians ambushed us without warning or mercy. We lost a lot of good people. His voice caught. But that's not the worst of it. Thompson intercepted a message that changes everything. Jenkins relayed the revelation. The Talarians claiming humans were their genetically engineered slaves, seeded across the stars eons ago. Gasps and curses echoed through the room. That's impossible, Donnelly spat. It has to be a trick, some kind of sick mind game. Others muttered their disbelief, but Jenkins held up a hand. I don't want to believe it either, but we can't afford to ignore this, not when our very identity is at stake. We need proof, one way or the other, before we jump to any conclusions. Reluctantly, the crew agreed. Jenkins turned to Donnelly. Chief, you're with me. We're going to tap into the Talarian comms network, see what else we can dig up. Donnelly frowned. With what? Main computers fried, along with most of our gear. Jenkins grabbed a charred tablet, a determined glint in his eye. Then we improvise. Hours later, hunched over a tangle of wires and equipment scavenged from the ruins, Jenkins and Donnelly stared at a flickering screen in disbelief. Files scrolled past, detailing the Talarians' ancient genetic engineering program. Images of early humans in squalid cages, wired to machines. Equations for tailored DNA to maximize strength, aggression, adaptability. Schedules for seeding batches of artificially gestated slaves across hundreds of resource-rich worlds to fuel the Talarian war machine. Earth was just one of many petri dishes, the perfect lab rats to conquer the Talarians' enemies. Not a natural species at all, but engineered products. Bile rose in Jenkins's throat. "Those bastards," Donnelly whispered. "They grew us like livestock and threw us into the trenches." Jenkins struggled to process the enormity of it. If this was true, then everything humanity thought they knew was a lie. Their evolution, their identity, their supposed free will, all an illusion, a side effect of the Talarians' genetic tinkering. A file caught his eye and he zoomed in. Coordinates for a Talarian research outpost, hidden in the Oort cloud of this very star system. His heart pounded. If they could raid that base, they might find incontrovertible proof of humanity's origins. Leverage to break free of their chains. He called the crew together again. "I know you're scared and angry. I am too. But we can't let the Talarians get away with this. Chief Donnelly and I found the location of a secret research outpost nearby. I believe it holds the key to learning the full truth." Jenkins looked each crew member in the eye. "I won't lie. Raiding that outpost will be incredibly risky. It could even alert the Talarians to our survival. But this is bigger than us. It's about the future of our entire species. If we can prove the Talarians' crimes and show humanity we're more than just engineered slaves, it could unite Earth against them like never before." Donnelly shook his head. "Captain, I want payback as much as anyone. But we barely got off this rock alive. Attacking that base is suicide." "Maybe it is," Jenkins snapped. "But I'd rather die fighting for the truth and our freedom than spend another day cowering in the shadow of a lie. I don't know if humans came from nature or a test tube, but I do know we have the right to choose our own destiny. The Talarians stole that from us. Now we take it back." Silence stretched out, heavy with the weight of the decision before them. Then, one by one, the crew began to nod. "I'm with you, Captain," rasped Alvarez, clutching her broken arm. "Those alien bastards are going to pay." Similar words of support rang out. Jenkins felt a rush of pride and love for his battered crew. They would see this through, at any expense. "Then let's get to work," he said grimly. "Scavenge every scrap of equipment and supplies you can from the ship and ruins. We'll need all our ingenuity to get the Odyssey flying again." In the days that followed, the Odyssey's crew labored tirelessly from dawn till dusk. They stripped components from shattered consoles, repurposed power cells, even smelted ore from the crumbling temples to patch the hull. Slowly, sparks of life returned to the crippled ship. Donnelly rigged a makeshift cloaking device to mask the Odyssey's signature, while Jenkins plotted a stealthy approach to the outpost. Failure was not an option. Finally, the patchwork starship juddered off the planet's surface, flames belching from its thrusters. As the Odyssey knifed through the void toward the Oort cloud, Jenkins stared through the forward view screen, his reflection gaunt and hollow-eyed. "Captain's log, supplemental," he murmured. "We've left the crash site behind, the crew hungry for answers and vengeance. What we discover at the Talarian base could shatter humanity's very foundations." He paused, heart made. "But I still have to believe we are more than the sum of our origins. Whether we arose through chance or design, we still have the power to forge our own path. The Talarians may have made us, but they don't own us. Not anymore." The Odyssey crept through the void, her engines muffled to bare whispers. Jenkins gripped the command chair, eyes locked on the tactical display. Ahead loomed a massive comet, its icy surface overflowing with sensor arrays and weapon emplacements. "Talarian outpost dead ahead, Captain," Donnelly reported, voice low. "Stealth systems holding steady." Jenkins nodded grimly. "Bring us in slow," One wrong move and those defenses will turn us to space dust. The Odyssey glided closer, silent as death. When they were in range, Jenkins stood. All right, people, gear up. We go in fast and quiet. Minutes later, Jenkins, Donnelly, and 3 crew members crowded into a shuttle, armored exosuits clamped tight. The bay doors yawned open and they shot towards the comet. 30 seconds to contact, the pilot announced. Jenkins' grip tightened on his rifle. They touched down on the icy surface with a soft crunch. Donnelly pulled up a holomap. Airlock access point should be there. The team double-timed it across the comet's frozen landscape. A hulking metal door loomed before them, covered in alien script. I've got this, Donnelly muttered, attaching a device to the control panel. It hummed, cycling through encryption keys. With a hiss, the airlock slid open. Inside, sterile white corridors stretched in all directions. The distant echo of boots on metal sent the team scrambling for cover. 2-man patrol heading our way, Jenkins whispered. They held their breath as a pair of Talarian guards passed by, weapons at the ready. Once clear, they pressed on. Following the pilfered schematics, they wound their way deeper into the facility. They ducked into alcoves and side passages whenever Talarian voices drifted near. At last, they reached a sealed door marked with warning symbols. This is it, Donnelly said. The data core. As Donnelly worked to bypass the lock, Jenkins scanned the corridor. His skin crawled. Any second now, alarms could start blaring. The door slid open with a soft beep. They piled inside, Donnelly making a beeline for the central console. His fingers flew across the alien interface. I'm in, he announced, downloading everything I can find on their genetic engineering program. Jenkins peered over his shoulder as file after file scrolled past. His eyes widened. My God. The files painted a damning picture. 50,000 years ago, the Talarians had reached technological heights humanity could scarcely imagine. But it wasn't enough. They craved an empire, and for that, they needed workers. Disposable, adaptable slaves to toil and die for Talarian glory. So they created humans. Gene by gene, they sculpted a new species. Stronger, more resilient than their makers. But hobbled. Mental limiters to keep the slaves docile and compliant. Look at this, Donnelly breathed. They seeded us on hundreds of worlds. Earth was just one of many testing grounds. Jenkins felt sick. Everything he'd ever known about human history, human potential, it was all a lie. But then he saw something that made his heart race. Wait, go back. The files showed the Talarians' carefully laid plans unraveling. Their creations were evolving, and fast. Human intelligence spiked beyond all projections. The mental shackles crumbled. And then, rebellion. Across 100 worlds, their slave army rose up. The mighty Talarian Empire brought low by its own hubris. We did it, Jenkins whispered. We broke free. A klaxon shattered the silence. Intruder alert, a voice boomed over hidden speakers. All security teams converge on the data core. Time to go, Jenkins barked. They burst from the room only to find themselves face to face with a towering Talarian. 4 eyes glared down at them with hatred. I am Commander Vortis, he snarled, and you will die here, human vermin. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air. Jenkins and his team dove for cover, returning fire. The corridor erupted into chaos as more Talarian guards poured in. We need an exit, Donnelly shouted over the din. Jenkins spotted a maintenance hatch. There, move! They laid down, suppressing fire, inching towards their escape. Vortis roared in fury as they slipped away. The team raced through service tunnels, the sounds of pursuit growing closer. Finally, they burst out onto the comet's surface once more. Go, go, go! Jenkins yelled as they sprinted for the shuttle. Talarian weapons fire kicked up geysers of ice around them. They piled in, the engines already spooling up. As they rocketed away from the outpost, Jenkins allowed himself a moment to breathe. Back aboard the Odyssey, the crew gathered in the briefing room. Jenkins looked at their expectant faces. What we've learned changes everything, he began. The Talarians created us, it's true, but we outgrew their plans. We claimed our freedom, our identity, and now we decide our own fate. Jenkins stood at the front of the briefing room, his face etched with weariness. The crew of the Odyssey sat in tense silence, waiting to hear the results of their daring raid on the Talarian outpost. I won't sugarcoat this, Jenkins began, his voice rough. What we've discovered changes everything we thought we knew about ourselves. He tapped a command into the holographic display, bringing up a cascade of alien text and diagrams. These files confirm it. Humans were engineered by the Talarians as a slave race, meant to fuel their galactic conquest. A chorus of gasps and muttered curses filled the room. Alvarez slammed her fist on the table. Those bastards! Jenkins held up a hand. There's more. The Talarians' plan backfired. We evolved beyond their control, faster than they ever anticipated. Our minds broke free of their constraints. He swiped through more files, showing grainy footage of human uprisings across alien worlds. We fought back, and we won. The almighty Talarian Empire crumbled because they couldn't contain what they'd created. Donnelly leaned forward, his eyes wide. So we're not natural at all? Just products? No, Jenkins said firmly. We may have started as their creations, but we've shaped our own destiny. Earth, our colonies, they belong to us, not some long-dead empire. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Donnelly stood up. We need to tell Earth right away. Humanity deserves to know the truth. Jenkins shook his head. And risk widespread panic? Billions of people having their entire worldview shattered overnight. We need to be careful how we handle this. Heated debate erupted. Some crew members sided with Donnelly, arguing for immediate disclosure. Others feared the consequences of such a revelation. Enough! Jenkins shouted, silencing the room. We'll seek out more evidence first. There's a human outpost on a nearby moon. We'll start there, gather survivors, build our case. Reluctantly, the crew agreed. As they plotted their new course, Jenkins and Donnelly pored over the stolen data. Captain, look at this, Donnelly said, pointing to a string of coordinates. It matches descriptions of a Talarian Arc ship. Jenkins' eyes widened. A gene bank? If it's intact? It could have proof of our exact genetic origins, Donnelly finished. Jenkins weighed their options. The outpost could provide much-needed allies and resources, but the Arc ship, that could end all doubt. Plot a course for the Arc ship, he ordered. We need to know for sure. As the Odyssey glided through the void towards the ancient vessel, Jenkins stared out at the stars. Soon they would face the irrefutable truth of humanity's beginnings. Whatever they found would reshape their species forever. The bridge fell silent as a massive shape loomed ahead, the Talarian Arc ship, a hulking relic of a fallen empire. Jenkins took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay within. Ahead, the Arc ship's massive hull filled the view screen, a derelict monument to a fallen empire. Jagged scars marred its surface, testament to some ancient battle. Sensors confirm no active power signatures, Donnelly reported. She's dead in space, Captain. Jenkins nodded grimly. Prep the shuttle. We're going in. Minutes later, Jenkins, Donnelly, and 3 crew members, including engineer Jenny Harlow, approached the Arc ship's airlock, their shuttle's docking clamps engaged with a muffled thunk. Pressure equalized, Harlow announced. We're clear to enter. The airlock cycled open, revealing a dark corridor beyond. Jenkins switched on his helmet lights, illuminating dust-choked consoles and alien writing etched into metallic walls. Stay alert, he ordered. We don't know what surprises this ship might have in store. They moved deeper into the vessel, boots clanging on metal gratings. Everywhere, signs of catastrophe. Scorched bulkheads, debris scattered across the deck. In one chamber, they found the desiccated remains of Talarian crew members, frozen in their final moments. What happened here? Donnelly whispered. Jenkins studied the scene. My guess? When humanity rebelled, this ship was caught in the crossfire. abandoned and left to drift. They pressed on, following Donnelly's scans toward the ship's core. At last, they reached a set of armored doors. "This has to be it," Donnelly said. "The central genome vault." It took their combined efforts to force the doors open. Inside, row upon row of sleek cylinders stretched into the gloom, each softly pulsing with faint emergency power. "Unbelievable," Harlow breathed. "The genetic legacy of an entire empire." Donnelly made for a nearby terminal, fingers flying across alien keys. "I'm in. Accessing overseer logs now." Data scrolled across his helmet display. Suddenly he froze. "Captain," he said, voice tight, "you need to see this." Jenkins leaned in, eyes widening as he read. There, in stark alien script, product HMN. "It's true," Jenkins whispered. "Everything we suspected. We're their creation." "Downloading now," Donnelly reported. A sudden chirp from Harlow's suit computer broke the tension. "Captain, I'm detecting an automated distress signal. It just activated." Jenkins's blood ran cold. "We need to move now." They sprinted for the exit, adrenaline surging. But as they reached the door, Harlow stumbled. "I'm caught!" she cried, tugging at a cable ensnared around her leg. Jenkins turned back, seeing the panic in her eyes. He grabbed the cable, straining to free her. "Go!" Harlow shouted to the others. "The mission is what matters." "We're not leaving you," Jenkins growled, still pulling. A hiss filled the air. Jenkins saw with horror that Harlow's suit had torn, precious oxygen escaping. "Please," she whispered, her voice growing faint. "Don't let this be for nothing." Jenkins met her gaze, seeing acceptance there. With a choked sob, he released the cable. "I'm sorry," he said. Harlow's vitals flatlined as Jenkins and the survivors raced back to their shuttle. They undocked just as distant energy signatures appeared on their scopes, ships answering the distress call. Back aboard the Odyssey, Jenkins stared at the main view screen. The Ark ship receded into the distance, Harlow's final resting place. "Upload the data," he ordered quietly. As Donnelly worked, Jenkins addressed the somber crew. "What we've found changes everything," he said. "But we've paid a terrible price. Jenny Harlow gave her life so humanity could know the truth of its origins. We won't let that sacrifice be in vain." He nodded to the communications officer. "Open a channel to Earth." It's time they knew. Taking a deep breath, Jenkins began to speak. "To all citizens of Earth, this is Captain Alan Jenkins of the Starship Odyssey. What I'm about to tell you will shake the foundations of everything we thought we knew about ourselves."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.